Good morning, guys. It is January 29th. It's the 29th. I got it right. And welcome to the morning drive. Again, 5-second overview. I drive to work. This is where I talk. I answer questions. If I run out of questions, I start rambling. That's pretty much how it goes. Let's get started. And stop sign. And school bus. So, how's everybody's Friday? Good? Good. First comment I have here is from Tabletop Banter, and it would be, what has been the most memorable dice roll or least favorite dice roll since working at Mini Wargaming? Most memorable dice roll? Probably the one that I can think of most recently would be when I was able to chain together a couple shots and blow up Dave's Land Raider with a combi melta in the Path to Glory campaign. Least favorite dice roll was the one where my when my war boss in Mega Armor with a Lucky Stick failed his last roll save, and then I used Lucky Stick to re-roll it and failed it again, and he died. The one time he has ever died to like regular fire. It's kind of depressing. Yeah, that's probably the least favorite dice roll. So it always sucks when you lose like your crazy powerful guy to basic stuff and just bad dice rolls. It makes you feel kind of cheated. But it was crummy. That's probably my least favorite one. Next comment I have is from Simon. So it's the name I can't pronounce. He knows who he is. Been absent, now I sound like I'm from Buffalo. Been absent for 2 days, and already I feel like I've missed a lot. Anyway, who's your best buddy at Mini Wargaming, and why is it Steve? You're funny. It's like you know what my answer is going to be. Actually, it's kind of a toss-up. It depends on the day. Some days it's Lee, our painter, because he is a very good guy and very interesting and very entertaining. The thing is, he's like Angron. It does not take much to set him off and put him in a bad mood. When he's in a bad mood, he's very and just doesn't want to do anything. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, let me know when you're back, and when you get back, I'll be happy again. But right now I'm sad because my buddy Lee's gone, and he's been replaced by this very angry dude. And then there's Steve, who's just really, really, really fun and easy to just prank and irritate because everything sets him off. Like, he has wicked OCD, so we'll go to a restaurant on Thursdays and get wings. And the thing is, it can be anywhere from 6 to 8 or 10 of us, depending on how many guests there are that day. So, Coke. They have to chain a couple tables together, and when they do that, he likes to have all the tables perfectly lined up. Well, if you take one of the tables and just make it a little bit crooked, he'll sit there and stew about it for like the entire meal because it's not lined up. It needs to be lined up. Can you please line up the tables? And yesterday, which was Thursday, so it was wing day, it literally got to the point where Steve was like, fight him. Like, I turned the tables, and Steve was like, someone needs to fight this kid. Just fight him. I want to see blood. I want him hurt. He needs to get hurt for doing this. I'm like, but Lee's the one who made the table screw. He's like, yes, but you put the idea in his head. I'm like, so he's like, so you're Alfarius. You're trying to get other people to do your dirty work. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So yeah, it kind of is a toss up between those two. Honestly, everyone at Mini Wargaming is like, Dave probably said it the best, where we're pretty much like one aggressive family towards one another. Not like domestic violence aggressive, just like we like to banter, and we like to argue, and we like to insult each other, and we like to prank each other a lot. And it's kind of a good thing, because if we didn't, it would mean that we just don't like each other. But since we like each other and we're comfortable with each other enough to do these things, it's one of the like perks of being able to go to work and be like, you know what? I feel like messing with Chris today. Chris is going to be my target for the day, and I'm going to mess with Chris. Yeah, it's Chris's turn. And that can be a thing, and it can totally happen. So it's one of the nice joys of working at a company where you get to know everybody there on such a like it's gonna sound weird, but on such an intimate level. So it helps out with working with everybody, because you can just kind of put everything together, and you all work together, and it's really nice, because there's a hierarchy to it. There's Matt and Dave, because they own the place, and then there's everybody else, and we're all on the same level, and we all work together, and as a result it gets done. So it's just nice to have that very simple hierarchy. Nobody's got this whole I'm better than you thing. And I've worked in some places where there's been that, where it's like, well, I've been here longer, so I'm higher up the totem pole than you. No, you're not. We're all on the same level, and it's really nice to have that here, because that way there's the respect, and at the same time there's the equality to it. So yeah, totally got off topic on that one. It went from being who's my favorite to like the inner workings of the hierarchy of mini wargaming. So anyway, that was a good question. Definitely got off topic on that one. Next one I have is from Marcelo Di Despot. I feel like I've tried this name before, and I've horribly failed. I read this comment before and I giggled. Okay. What was your worst experience dealing with that guy? Was it at Mini Wargaming or at some other occasion? It's happened a lot where you have to deal with that guy. The thing is, when people come to Mini Wargaming, they kind of lose that guy mentality, because they're almost at like Disneyland for wargamers. So they kind of lose that whole, well, I'm really good at this, and I know the rules, and I'm gonna play to win. They're like, I'm at Mini Wargaming, this is gonna be fun. But every now and then we get that one person who's just, we have a term for some of our guests. There's nothing wrong with them, but we call them super fans. And usually it's somebody who's younger, but every now and then it's not. But usually it's someone who's younger, who's just like, I can't believe I'm here, this is so amazing, I watched all your videos. That actually hurt to do that voice. It will usually start off with someone like seeing me, and I'm the smallest guy there. I'm 6 foot. I'm like 6 feet tall. So I'm not a small person. I'm just the smallest guy there. So when people come in and they meet me for the first time, and they expect me to be some like 5'8" dude, and I walk by and I'm 6 feet tall, and they're like, oh, you're actually taller than I thought. And I'm like, yeah. And then Matt walks by and is like, wow, Matt's incredibly tall. And then Steve walks by, and people are like, oh my goodness, now I know why they call you the mountain. So, but every now and then we get someone who's like the super fan, who's just like, they're so excited that it's difficult to try and film a game with them, because they're always wanting to go off and see what someone else is doing, or they want to see another part of the studio, or you'll be like, say we're in the movement phase and I'm playing orcs, so at no point does my opponent really interact with me when I'm doing the movement phase. We might banter a little bit on camera, but I'll start my movement phase and they'll be like, I'm gonna go to the washroom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna finish my movement phase. Well, they're gone for an hour, and I get worried, because I'm like, oh, did my guest like die in the bathroom? And I come out and they're like interrupting Matt's game or Dave's game or something like that. It's like, okay, my bad. But that's my experience with that guy at Mini Wargaming, is because that'll happen. It's usually, like I said, it's usually somebody who's younger, who's very excited, and I totally understand that. There's nothing wrong with it, but it does happen. My experience with that guy outside of Mini Wargaming was at a War Machine tournament. This guy got under my skin. I had just started to get into it like a lot, and I had built my Convergence army, my Convergence Serious army, and was really, really happy with it, but I wanted to branch out and try a Hordes army. So I picked up Circle, and I made a boulder list. So it's basically a lot of stones, a lot of like manipulating the earth elements and stuff like that. Like, that's the theme behind it. So I thought it was really cool. So I built this entire list as like a theme list, so it looked really cool on the table. It has very little competitive playability. It's more just there for fun, and it looks cool. Well, I'm at this tournament, I'm there to have fun, and this guy comes out and he's like, so how do you want to determine lists? I was like, he's like, well, we'll put a dice under the sheet. I have no idea what he means by that, but I'm like, okay, well, okay. So I stuck a die under the sheet. I'm like, I have no idea what this is for, but whatever. So I didn't even look at it. I just stuck it under the sheet. And the way it works for those of you who don't know, the way it works at War Machine tournaments is called a 2-list system. You basically you bring 2 lists, and you pick which list you're going to play against your opponent at the time when you figure out what your army your opponent's playing. So it kind of helps out with you not getting like a perfect counter to your army. You can kind of prevent that a little bit, but at the same time, it also comes down to you can get list chicken, where my list would work really good against that list, but his other list would work really good against this list. So I should bring that list instead, so it'll work really good against that list, and it kind of becomes this little thing. I haven't been playing long enough at that point to know how to do that, so I was like, whatever. So I stuck the die under the piece of paper. I'm like, I have no idea what this is for. And he's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, reveal. I'm like, what? Okay, and I moved the page out of the way, and the die was set to a 2. And he's like, okay, you're bringing your second list. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. If that's what we're doing. He's like, well, is that not what you wanted? I was like, well, yeah. He's like, well, do you want to? Because now you know what I'm bringing. Are you going to change your list? Because now I might change my list. I'm like, no, I'll take the list I was going to bring. He's like, okay, well, all right, so whatever. It was a mistake on my part, and I'll live with it. So we start playing, and he absolutely wrecks me. Just without even thinking about it, without even doing anything, was just like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this. It makes this guy like completely inert and out of the way, so I can see right through him, and my entire army's gonna shoot your warcaster's dead, I win. I'm like, okay, cool, that's awesome. I didn't know that could happen. So he beat me, and normally under these circumstances is when the person who lost is supposed to ask questions to help learn how to win. I didn't need to ask questions. I figured it out as it was going on because I have all the cards on my iPad. So I was like, all right, well, yeah, that's cool. If I see what happened, I'll learn for next time to watch out for this guy. So I guess he took offense to me not asking for advice. So he starts to talk about how, well, once you get good, I'm paraphrasing here because there were some words that I'm not sure if I'm willing to say yet. But he basically was like, you know what? It's okay. You're not a real like War Machine Hordes player right now. You're learning Circle. So right now you're a novice Circle player. I'm a War Machine player because I own all the armies and I play all the armies and I play them competitively. So I know them. So I'm not like a Crix player or a Menoth player or whatever. I don't play that one particular army because that wouldn't make me a War Machine player. That would make me that army specific player. But I'm a War Machine player because I own all the armies and they're all painted and I play them all competitively. I know them all really well. Once you get to my level, then you understand what's kind of involved with this and what you kind of like game you need to bring to a tournament and stuff like that. But once you get to that point, you'll understand. So it was really, really condescending, and in a friendly atmosphere, I find condescension like one of the worst things you can possibly do for the community of the game you play, because nobody appreciates like being talked down to. But I was like, well, you know what? That's absolutely fine. I don't really care. And he's like, yep, well, you know what? Maybe at some point once you're good, we'll play again and you can actually like give me a real challenge. That was the point where I was like, okay, now I have a new goal. I'm going to go to every tournament you go to. I'm going to play you, and I'm going to quit. So the way it works in tournaments is if you quit, your opponent gets minimum points. Right now, if he tables me, he gets maximum points. So on a scale of like 1 to 10, he got 10 points. If you quit without doing anything, your opponent gets 1 point because it was a concede. So it's like, okay, well, I quit. And they're like, oh, so you didn't get to play a game, you didn't do anything. So that was my goal. I never got to play the guy again. Never got to play him again until we came up to a team tournament. And my opponent and I had to face his opponent and him. And they're both setting up their armies, and you can tell they're very intense. They're very like, okay, we're going to do this. Again, I brought another joke army. This whole thing was built on the idea that when something dies, it gets replaced with a zombie. When the zombie dies, it gets back up. Like, it's really hard to get rid of this army. And my opponent, or my teammate, brought a artillery piece that's designed was basically just to keep shooting down range and killing stuff and stopping people from getting to our side of the board. So we start playing in this tournament, and the thing is that my teammates' guns on his like one big colossal, it's a timed thing, so we only had an hour each to play. But my teammate's thing takes about 15 minutes to get through on his own. So 4 turns in, our clock's burned. Like, that's how it would work. We had them almost tabled, and our clock ran out, so we automatically lose. And the words that left his mouth were, "Well, just as I had planned, your clock ran out and we win." I looked across the board and went, "Really? That was your plan the whole time? That is the laziest, cheesiest, most uncompetitive way to win I could possibly think." It was like, "Why? I played your clock." I'm like, "No, you didn't. You got lucky because the list that we have takes a while to play. If it wasn't for that, you would have lost. You have no skill. There was nothing involved here. You had no strategy whatsoever. Your army has no synergy. And the reason you won was because of dumb luck. You are not a competitive player. You are not good at this game. You are just lucky." He had no comeback for that. He just got mad. And that was my little icing on the cake. I had a little speech prepared, said it to him, I was done, walked away, and he stewed about it. He doesn't look at me anymore. I'll go to a tournament, he'll be there, he's like, and he'll walk away. He requests not to play me in the first round. I'm like, I don't even care, I don't like you. But this guy is known in our area. He's played at a couple different places. At one point, he played against Owen, and Owen beat him. And the words that left his mouth to Owen were, "You are not the type of person I should lose to." Really? Owen's like one of the most competitive players I know. He's probably one of the best players at War Machine I know. And you don't think you should lose to him? So, yeah, that's my story for that guy. That was a long rant. I'm sorry, but yeah. Great question. That's my interaction with that guy. So, moving on to the next one. Wow, I have a lot of questions here. Danny Danger, if you won the lottery, what was the first thing you'd do / buy? For me, it would be a holiday in Canada, so my Dark Angels could kick your butt. We're repeating questions again. No, I'm just kidding. I kind of answered this before. If I came into a large sum of money for whatever reason, 2 things I would do: pay off all my debts, because I was a student. I have debts to pay. And the second thing I would do would be to rent out the building next to Mini Wargaming and open up a little shop so that we could actually start to rebuild the Welland community, which would do wonders for Mini Wargaming as a whole. And I know for a fact that there was a community at one point before Mini Wargaming closed the store. I would love to see that community come back. So that's what I would do if I randomly came into a large sum of money. That's the short answer. I went into more detail in one of the previous videos. Next up, I have Brad Davidson. Hey Quirk, entirely Wargaming related. I can tell you're a Family Guy fan. So what are your top 3 favorite moments? Edit. I'll defend your appreciation for Nickelback. First 3 albums are boss. Yes, they are. Top 3 favorite moments of Family Guy? I have to narrow it down to 3? Where's my money, Brian? That's a given. Everybody leave, I have to poop now. And the entire episode where Peter gets a copy of Surfin' Bird, because that's just hilarious. I like any of the episodes where they time travel. They're always fun for a good laugh. But yeah, my top 3 moments will definitely change depending on the last episode that I watched or whatever I've done. But yeah, those are my top 3s right now. So I have to watch more Family Guy. Oh. Now you're making me want to watch Family Guy. I have work to do, man. Next up, I have CJ Phoenix. What did you study in college? Right, I did say I went to school and all that stuff. I studied computer programming. I went to Niagara College in Welland, ironically enough. This was years ago, though. And I studied and got into computer programming. Finished and did not use it for anything. My entire goal was I wanted to actually use that to get into game development, to try and work for a game development company in Montreal. Oddly enough, working at Mini Wargaming got me to go visit a gaming company in Montreal. Score! But I wanted to get into computer programming because I figured it was the field that would have the most potential to get me into some sort of video game related field, because programming is in everything now. The thing that I didn't realize is that I hate programming. For those of you who don't know what's involved with computer programming, imagine writing a 10,000 word essay and somebody looks at it, hands it back to you, and says, great, there's 4 spelling mistakes. You're like, okay. So you read through it again, and you find one of the 4 spelling mistakes. You fix it, you hand it back to your teacher, and they go, great, there's now 8 spelling mistakes, because by correcting this one, you somehow managed to misspell, or it affected the rest of your essay, so that the remaining 8 words no longer make sense where they are. That is computer programming, and that drives me insane. I've had it happen a couple times where when I was in class, I had spent like all-nighters working on programs, and hitting the run button, it's like, error, something's not working. I'm like, okay, well, what's not working? So I try and fix it, and it would come back saying like, oh, it's still not working. So I'd finally get it fixed, and then something else is broken. Drove me absolutely insane. I can't handle that. So that's why I didn't stick in. I had no stick-to-itiveness for that. But yeah, I studied computer programming. I really liked it. It was cool because I got to get into like 3D animation and graphic design and stuff like that with it as well, because what they did the first year was they put all the computer-related programs together, and you study all of them, and you kind of break apart into the different things as you go through your remaining semesters. And I really enjoyed all the graphics and 3D design and stuff like that. Fun fact, actually, gaming with the Coolers logo, the one that blows up in his actual shield there, I made that. So, fun fact. Anyway, guys, I'm at work, so that's it. As always, please leave your comments below and let me know what you'd like me to talk about. If you have a question, I will do my best to answer it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, share, and as always, comment. And until Monday, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you then.